Hi, my name is Lindy and thank you for joining my channel. If you're new to my videos, welcome. Today I want to show you how I cook roasted lemon potatoes and Greek salad, which are perfect accompaniments with your slow cooked lamb. I'll put a link at the end of this video for slow roasted Greek lamb. So the Greek salad is really simple. We're going to just start by washing these tomatoes. Now these are vine tomatoes. This is not your authentic tomato for Greek salad. You would rather use a heritage tomato or possibly a beef tomato, and I've actually watched how they cut the tomatoes in the Greek restaurants, and they keep the stalk, the centerpiece of the tomato, attached to every piece of the tomato. So I think it'll work quite well with these small ones. I'm going to just take them off the vine. And then we've got a red onion. I prefer the red onion because it's going to be raw in the salad and it's not as strong as the yellow or the white onion. And then cucumber. This is the authentic cucumber for a Greek salad, not the English cucumbers. I've got an English and the other type of cucumber here. I tried to look up what type it's called. If anybody happens to know the name of this cucumber, I'd love to hear. So here's the English cucumber, which, as we know, the English cucumber is a fairly new variety, and the difference here is that it's got a slightly bumpy skin and you can eat the skin. So if we look inside, there are very few tiny pips, whereas if you look at this one, these have got bigger pips, but we're going to keep the pips. Some people scoop them out and just use the cucumber. I like to keep the whole cucumber. So that's just to show you the difference. Something I read which was really interesting about cucumbers. They say that cucumbers are really good to eat at night. I actually thought that cucumbers caused indigestion, but what is actually said is because of the high water content, it's good for hydration and it aids digestion. So there's an interesting fact. Now the way I'm going to cut this is this particular cucumber. I still remember people saying that you had to cut off the ends and then rub it to get the bitterness out. But I find that's not necessary. What you do want to make sure is when you buy them green, dark green, and make sure that they are not spongy, because then they will be bitter. So we just cut them down the center, and then I cut them into pieces. And then the tomatoes, I cut them slightly off center, and then I do this to just get the little point away, so that's all I waste. And then I cut them into pieces, wedges. Don't forget, always salt your tomatoes. It draws the liquid out and it gives it a super flavor. So here we're going to put a few of our cucumber pieces in it. And then when we cut our onion, the way I do it is I cut a little point off the end of the onion and then I cut off the tip. And you just cut it in half. And for some reason, the Greek salad, people put in a slightly curved piece of onion. Then I cut it like this, very, very finely, so you've got these little pieces. And then I sprinkle some of that on the top, and I'm going to show you how we eventually put the feta on the top. So we put tomatoes, salt, cucumber, onion, tomato, and then to finish it off, the way that the Greeks do the feta is they use slices. So we're going to use 2 slices. If you have a bigger piece, you can use 1 slice, and it obviously depends on how much feta you enjoy. And then we're going to put some oregano all over it. And finally, olive oil. So here's our Greek salad, best served immediately. we've completed the first side, and now the second side we're going to do is lemon roast potatoes. And we're going to use these potatoes. I got small ones, you can use big ones. The bigger the potato that you're going to roast, obviously the longer it takes. I'm going to peel these and I'm going to then cut them into wedges. So into this dish we're going to put enough olive oil to coat the bottom of the dish. And then we're going to squeeze in 1 lemon. So the lamb has just gone in at 400, and we're going to put the potatoes in as well now. Peeled them and poured off all liquid. We don't need to dry them because we're going to cook them in liquid. And I did not put any salt in it, and the reason is because I'm going to put in some chicken broth, which I've made, and I put salt in it. So we want to be careful how much salt we put in it. We can always add to it. We're going to pour this liquid into the potatoes. So we're just going to give the potatoes a little bit of mix to cover them with the oil, lemon juice, oregano. And the next thing we do is we put in chicken stock. I've got a cup here. I'm only going to put in a half cup to start. And then I'm going to see how it goes and if I want to add some more later. This is going to cook for an hour and a half. Over here we have semolina, and that's what one uses to give the potatoes a little bit of a crisping. I'm going to mix 2 tablespoons in here. And again, we can see if we're going to need more. And then we're going to give it a bit of a mix. And this is a Le Creuset baking dish. You can use metal, you can use glass, whatever you have that works. Also, the amount of oil and everything else that goes into this is dependent on how many potatoes, how big the dish. So I only have 8 small potatoes I've cut in half. But if you're using a bigger quantity, a bigger dish, so obviously then you will probably need 2 lemons, more oregano, more chicken stock, more of everything. So just work it according, and just remember that the quantities are not that significant. So we're going to put the potatoes back into the baking dish with the liquid. Try to have a single layer of potatoes, and I try to make them all go the same way each time. So we'll start them on their rounded side, just so they cook evenly and brown evenly. So we're going to put this in now at 400 for half an hour. So this is after half an hour, and we're going to just turn the potatoes onto the other side. These potatoes are starting to brown slightly on the top. We need to loosen them a bit. So they've stuck quite a bit, but we've managed to turn them, and now we're going to brown them up. My name is Lindy, and thank you for joining my channel. If you enjoyed watching how I make Greek salad and lemon roast potatoes, please be sure to hit the subscribe button, and you'll be notified when my next video is available. Take care and bye.